Hi, and welcome to the When Women Fly podcast. Each episode, I have poignant conversations with women who fly, run, surf, ski, climb, or otherwise soar, and possess a passion for life that is infectious. These are honest and insightful conversations about dreams and reinvention, often in the face of uncertainty, doubt, or other impediments. We talk about busting paradigms, grit, working hard, and playing hard, all while building a community around the empowering metaphor of flight. I am your host, Sylvia Winter, a pilot, runner, mother, skier, list maker, and apparently podcaster. I believe that when we share our stories, own our fears, and dismantle our perceived limitations, the possibilities are boundless. Whether you're pursuing your passion or simply love the idea of possibility and wonder, this podcast is for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's get started. The path to flight was opened up by dreamers and oddball inventors who braved public ridicule and physical injury. Risk and ridicule are kept in check now, for the most part, but human beings have always dreamed of flight. For my guest, Captain-Crystal Stout, the dreaming and adapting continues. She's had ballooning in her family for 3 generations, but the quintessence of her flight is original, and her ability to gift the experience of rising and flying life-changing. In hot air ballooning, the typical basket is the bottom part of the balloon, which carries the passengers, pilot, and propane gas cylinders. The baskets come in a variety of different shapes and sizes, but they are all baskets that require a lot of maneuvering to get into. Rather, they all were baskets before Captain-Crystal has changed this. In addition to piloting hot air balloons from sites around the world, Captain-Crystal is founder and executive director of an ingenious nonprofit called Dreamcatchers, determined to give the thrill of flight, a dream, to people with physical challenges, individuals with disabilities, veterans, and terminally ill children, along with their caregivers. She explains why this tandem is so important in our conversation. She is a complete joy to talk to. A Mary Poppins meets Maverick in Top Gun with a dash of Wonder Woman. In 2020, she was crowned Queen Miss USA in the senior pageant, which gives her nonprofit more visibility and gets her out of her flying uniform and into a gown with a crown. Part of finding a calling is asking, what is it that we would like to manifest? Noticing and taking responsibility for how we show up in our lives, being aware of the impact that we have on others and the environment in which we live. My conversation with Captain-Crystal is all about coming out of our heads and seeing who and what is right there in front of us. To say she brings joy into the world is a huge understatement. She changes lives, gives a new sense of hope and perspective to people with huge challenges in this terrestrial, able-bodied, privileged world we live in. Someone once told me that spreading ideas and love is like a kind of seed dispersal. As with a dandelion, you don't really know the final destination of your ideas. But when the seed lands, plants, and grows, there is possibility. For Captain-Crystal, she is spreading the notion that dreams of flying can come true for people who have been shut out of flight because of so-called disability or physical limitation. Enjoy this conversation about catching dreams, adaptations, and promises kept with Captain-Crystal Stout. Captain-Crystal, I am so excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Sylvia. This is going to be so much fun. I'm excited about this.
So I actually want to get started by letting you introduce yourself. And if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me a little bit more about you and flying.
Okay, that sounds like a fun thing. Captain-Crystal Stout. I live in the Olympic Peninsula where I fly my large ride balloon as well as my little dream catcher balloon. I have a friend who has a Cessna, so we get to fly over the islands and land out there for lunch. It's a lot quicker to just fly over in her little plane. I'm a 3rd generation hot air balloonist. And my grandfather was part of the stratospheric balloon launch in 1935. I taught my dad to fly, and that makes me three generations, which was kind of fun. I have been flying for 35 years. This starts my 36th year as a lunatic, aviatrix, however you want to put it. I have flown in helicopters, tried to pilot that, decided it was too expensive. I had a powered parachute. I flew that, decided that it was too dangerous. Plus, it was at the time, it was at the same time as my hot air balloon flying. So my time frame was you get to choose. And when I mean dangerous means it would put me in the afternoon where there was more winds and more opportunities for unsuccessful flight.
Hmm.
I made the choice and sold that. What else have I done? Wing walker, number 63, a graduate from the only wing walking school in the world, which is right here in Sequim, Washington. And of course, I have an Airbnb. I call it my balloon in bed out here in Sequim, Washington. So people can come out and visit the Olympic National Park and have their dogs play in my big backyard while they're out there having fun. I'm an entrepreneur. I find a way to make things happen. I have a captain delivery service called Captain Delivers. And I do a lot of community events, with my Captain Delivers. It gives me the opportunity to pick up food for those people who are not getting out there during this, I guess, through this pandemic that we have. And so I get to drop off to kids, foster kid families and seniors and stuff like that. So that makes me feel good and allows them to be able to have someone cater to them when they're a little bit too afraid to be out there. So community services, a lot of awards, a lot of accolades for saying thank you for being part of our community. Do the Christmas lights in downtown, make it amazing so people have a chance to go outside and see something that brings them outside in the Christmas
Hmm.
time and the holiday time. So, Dream Catcher Balloon is my last big thing that I have, which I think we'll be talking about. And Dreamcatcher is my 501c3. It's a nonprofit. It's a hot air balloon that has been specifically designed to give individuals, especially those in wheelchairs or who are mobility challenged, a chance to fly in a hot air balloon. It's a little bit difficult walking over the basket up and over. So this is a seat. So it was specially designed. It's the only one of its kind in the world. And allows people to go beyond that physical boundary of holding them to I have to be in my chair or I have to be on the ground. It gives them a chance to experience a sense of freedom and empowerment. They can have something like a normal experience that most of us just kind of take for granted. Flying out there, flying an airplane, flying a balloon. This gives them a chance to say, I did that too.
Oh gosh. Well, you know what? Sometimes I like to dig into background first, but since you brought up Dreamcatcher, I just think we should start there because this project is so impactful and so endearing of you, and I feel like it's just starting to have the impact that it can have. So let's start talking about how you came to this project of enabling, first of all, creating your own type of basket. As you said briefly, the usual basket for ballooning is pretty difficult for people to get in and out of if they're not able bodied. So, was there a moment that you sort of saw that challenge of an individual, or just were sort of touched by bringing somebody up that hadn't been up, or sort of how did this ever come about? I'd love to hear that.
I am a CFI. I'm a flight instructor. So I've gone through I've also been a corporate balloon pilot. With my balloon programs, I have traveled around the world. I flew the largest hot air balloon in the world, and that was in Puerto Rico and Japan. I've been to New Zealand. I've been to the Philippines, all over the United States. So I've had these opportunities to see that there are people on the sidelines watching. And
Mm,
of course, when I would do my Good Morning America or my Good Day Detroit, I would be walking around talking to the TV community and they would put this out there. But I'd always see in the corner of my eye somebody who was just sitting there watching in a wheelchair or just standing or on a bench or someone who was a senior, older variety. And I thought, okay, well, that's kind of cool. But I never really put two and two together until later on. I'd been around for 30 years and I started getting the first questions. How can I go on a ride?
mhm.
I'd have someone with cerebral palsy who obviously we had to lift over the basket and take him for a very short hop because there's no way to have him see over the basket. He was too short. I had someone with, no limbs who said, "How can I go for a ride?" And I don't know what to do. How can I make these people? My last was this senior came up to me and she wanted this so bad, but there's no way she could have climbed over the basket. And so I started thinking there's got to be something. What would it take for me to be able to give these people a chance to fly? And Jeremy's Wish of a Lifetime is a organization that gives seniors their bucket list dream ride. And I had someone from Vashon Island who wanted a flight. And I said, well, I'm coming out there. Let's get the whole community to celebrate with her and give everyone else a chance to ride. They said yes. And they came out with the bus. And we're looking at all these people. And we're talking about weights from anywhere between a little 99-year-old lady to a 300-pound individual in a wheelchair. We could do a 99-year-old person over the top of the basket and carry them, but there's no way a 300-pounder is going to go over. I don't have the strength. So I said, this is crazy. We got to figure out something. And therefore, I just said, okay, what's it going to take? And this idea of a aircraft with a seat was brought to my attention. It was in Italy, and they had brought over the United States for a chance for the world to see this new aircraft. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. I love this. Of course, it's a lot of money. And I had just started my nonprofit like 10 days before that. I finally said, okay, we are going to find a way to get together a 501c3. And so I just said, this is what I want to do. And within 2 days, I had people calling me and saying, I've got a 501c3 I'm not using anymore. And, within 2 years' time, if it hasn't expired, you can just transfer it to you for $10. And I went, oh my goodness, I guess this is meant to be. So with this handful of opportunities, I found one that was very close to what we're doing, working with people in the healthcare business. It was teaching, it was having people experience something new and innovative. And so we literally adopted a program that had been around since 1985 called Chrysalis. And I just thought, this is perfect. We're taking this cocoon stage with someone in a wheelchair and we're giving them wings to fly. They're spreading their wings. It's perfect. So Chrysalis became our corporate 501c3 nonprofit entity. And we did a DBA as Dream Catcher Balloon because I saw this as a dream come true.
Hmm.
This is their bucket ride, or this is their make a wish ride, or whatever it is. But with Jeremy's, it really opened the fact that we have to do something. So when this designer, Bonanno from Italy, came to the United States for the largest balloon event in the world in 2012 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I said, this is the one. Because the way an aircraft is built for hot air balloons, you have to have 4 points to hold up the balloon envelope. And with this 4 point system, you're going to have a point in front where if someone's sliding from a wheelchair onto a seat, it's going to be obstruction.
Hmm.
And the way this one was built, it didn't have the front obstructions. And at this time, the other manufacturers were creating their own chariot, a two seat. It looks like a like a ski tow, like a ski lift,
Like a chairlift.
like a chairlift. That's exactly what it looks like, but it has 4 posts or something to hold up the balloon envelope above you. So this was the one. It just had it in the back. It had perfect slide and access. I said, this is it. And then it went gone off the market. Someone bought it in Albuquerque and it went to someone's garage in New York or wherever.
So they came over sort of to as an exposition to show this item, and it just you wanted it, you had your eye on it, but it wasn't your day.
I didn't have $20,000. I just started this program 10 days beforehand. I haven't started fundraising. So that started me up my program. Okay, I kept thinking about this. Okay, what would it take for us to have something like this? Now he made one. He's made three of these aircrafts. One is in Italy, one's in Australia, and one in the United States. Which is they're all gone. And I said, okay, no worries. We'll start our fundraising, and we did for 2 years, 3 years. We're fundraising, and we finally get all the money to put together. And as soon as it did, I get the call, Crystal, the balloon is back on the market. And I went, serious? I just spent all these years fundraising, and all of a sudden it's right there, ready to go. And I made the phone call. Okay, hold it. Let me find out. I need one more sponsor, and I got a corporate sponsorship. I said, can you give me 6 grand? Because I really want this. And he said yes. And he saw the potential. Our whole idea was to give everyone a chance to fly, not just people in wheelchairs, because now we have evolved.
Mhm.
We started with wheelchairs, and now we saw there were so many more opportunities to give someone this joyful ride. Our veterans, our seniors, we have foster kids, people who are from kids' camps. So, of course, me, I'm going, yes, give me these opportunities. We put the balloon together. We have an aircraft company in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they worked with me on trying to get all the pieces put together, the tanks, the burner system, and stuff like that. Anyway, so we had all that. It's called Adams Balloon back then. Andy from Adams, he was just starting up his ventures, and he gave me a big discount on a special shaped hot air balloon. Now, for those who don't know what a special shape is, it's either an appendage. So you start with a round balloon, and they'll have pieces that come out of it. Like mine has two butterflies, or you see something that's shaped like a rose, or you see something shaped like a car. Those are called special shapes. And their aerodynamics are different on the way they fly. Sometimes when the wind hits a special shape, it might turn differently. Mine having the two butterflies was like having two ears out the side. But the whole idea is if we're going to take this idea of chrysalis
Mhm.
and this cocoon, we have to have butterflies. We have to have movement. And so I I said, we're going to have butterflies coming out this. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to do it. And Andy Richardson from Albuquerque was amazing on the way he helped me design this.
Well, it is amazing. It is amazing. I mean, I think from the inception of the idea and then that commitment to realizing the somewhat challenging conundrum of how to create an aircraft for ballooning that is easy to get in and out of, and also securing bodies of all sorts of shapes safely into a sort of a chairlift type of apparatus, I guess I call it. So I want to actually go back a little bit and talk about the experience because I feel like there are more questions I have about what it means to you and also the experience for the individual and the spectrum of emotions. Do you see it all from fear to thrill? Do people start spontaneously crying? I mean, I know when I get super emotional, I just start crying, whether I'm happy or sad. So just I don't know, explain how that affects you and
This is a good question because when we first started out in 2015, I did not know how the reactions were going to be with the different groups of people that I worked with. Autism, Asperger's, cerebral palsy, Parkinson's, you name it. We had head injuries, and I tried everybody out to see what their reaction was. People who have are quadriplegic have the most difficulty because if they are afraid, they'll breathe heavy and it's hard on their bodies. So we had to understand how these different adaptive individuals would work with the program. And I have this ability to feel and sense the person who's next to me and what they're going through. So I am able to make it a experience to remember for them. We had an individual in Colorado and beautiful boy with Asperger's, just incredible. You would never know that he was a special individual. He did have a teething ring, he had scars on his knuckles, but there was just nothing to see this kid come out. And he came out, and of course, anyone who knows anything about Asperger's knows that someone like that doesn't like to be touched, and they don't give you eye contact. So he was in this little cocoon of his own energy and sat down. We went up and down very slowly with them, brought him back down. No, there was no interaction. But in the meantime, he's over on the side and he's watching, and I'm watching it with my peripherals going, he's analyzing this balloon and he's going, And with someone with this syndrome that he had, he could not communicate.
Mhm.
And the only communication he had was this verbal whoop that he did. Whoop, whoop. That was his way of saying whatever he needed to say. So we're all done. We had all these different people to come out and test. And the guy who was blind sat there and he's going, I don't feel it. I don't feel anything anymore. And I went, okay. Everyone hold on to the balloon. They held on to it. I said, okay, I'm going to make you feel something. I hit the burners, got enough inertia going. I said, let her go. And then we raced up spinning around, and he just starts saying, I can feel it. I can feel it.
Oh
Oh
my
my gosh.
gosh, what
Because
magic.
he had this electrode in his head that was some kind of a something that was there. And I just started laughing because the whole thing is this guy is just whooping it up. And now remember, I've got other people who are watching this.
Yeah.
And so he's done, we're all done. And this kid comes out and he sits next to me. He looks at me. He looks up into the burners and he looks at me again. And I'm going, okay, he's really figuring this out. And then he reaches for the burner. Okay. I grab his hand gently and put it in my lap. I said, okay, this time I'm the pilot. You can be the pilot next time. I hit the burners and we went up and he looked up and he looked me straight in the eyes. And remember, we're holding hands this whole time. And he starts whooping it out. And you could feel this energy off him that said, I get it. I'm alive. I can feel this. I have no way to tell anyone what's going on, but I get it. And he's looking at me, looking at the balloon, and his mom's on the ground and she starts to cry.
I'm about to cry.
Well, the thing is, what just happened? I mean, I don't know what just happened, and I'm getting chills. This story is put chills all over me. And I landed, and we put the balloon in. His mom came up to me and said, "Crystal, I need to tell you something." I said, "Yeah, well, just he had a great time. I'm so happy." She says, "No, no, no, you don't get it. My son is 24 years old, and he's never touched anyone in his life. You're the first person that she has seen this interaction, this feeling, this touching, first person." And she's in tears. Like, you just gave my son this amazing experience.
Wow.
And at the same time, I also take the caregivers, the parents, whoever, and I give them a ride as well
Mhm.
because they need to know that if there's going to be any communication, now this person has seen their caregiver go up for a ride and they've gone it. So now they have this point of contact, something to discuss or something to, remember when that happened. And they're like, yeah, that was so awesome, wasn't it? And they can both share that experience. So I'm impacted every time I fly this balloon. It's not me, it's them. It's, I get all choked up now. What can I do to make their life radiate with promise of something that they did that they can experience that no one else has told them, no, you can't do this. They've accomplished something and they've achieved something that makes their life that much more. And that's why we're doing the dream catcher. We want to have more dreams come true.
Mhm.
I have never had anyone, even the guy with cerebral palsy, scooted down to get out of the balloon because we were like 10 feet off the ground. And we obviously a 5 point harness stops that from happening. And he was a little bit scared. And so we pulled the balloon down, we cut it short. They put him in his wheelchair to wheel him out. And I yelled, I said, "You're the movie star today." And everyone in the crowd started clapping for him. And that fear went away. And all of a sudden he's like, "I'm the center of attention. I'm a movie star. Look what I just did. That was awesome." And now we've changed his whole perspective from doing something that he can now share with all of his other friends. Look what I did. I got flying a hot air balloon.
The emotional intelligence you bring is really incredible. It's just clearly what you're called to do.
And this is a little bit off, but someone came up to me once and said, "I want that joy that you have in your heart. How do I get that?" And I said, "You find a purpose. You find a reason why you're here on this earth." I said, I had to figure this out in 2012. But once I did, I now look for reasons to have the Dreamcatcher balloon out there. And of course, we're always looking for not only places for us to go, but people who want to give back to us, sponsor. And we were always looking for how can we make this a win-win for everyone.
And you have a Mark Twain quote that you use. Can you share that with us?
Mark Twain said, "There are two important days in your life: the day that you're born, then the day that you find out why." Isn't that awesome? And when I found this out, I said, this is the reason I was born. I'm out here to give this joy because I feel it every time I'm in that balloon. Obviously, as an aviator, we always love to fly, but to take it one step further and to fly and share a one on one with somebody who would never ever think about it, it touches my heart every time.
I really, really love what you're doing. Oh, I can't wait to just share it with, the world and our listeners. I really think it has a big ripple effect, both your approach, but also just quite literally what you're doing. It has a big impact, and spreading joy is one of the tenets of having a joyful life.
And we need that right now. Ever is a time when we need to start giving back to everyone and getting everyone outside to experience something like this. This is my way to encourage people. I have one more story I'll share real quick.
Mhm.
I have a veteran who was disabled, and she spent 10 years in bed with pain. And her mom called me. She's only like 32, so she's really young. Her mom called me and said, I would like my daughter to come out and have a dream flight. What will it take? And I said, well, good weather, obviously. And she goes, I have to take her off the pain meds so she can get out of bed. And I said, well, I will let you know that morning. I called her that morning. I said, get her out of bed, wrap her up. It's cold outside. Let's get her in that balloon. And they wheel her all the way down. And then she walks a little bit, sits down. She looks at me and she says, I would never imagine I would be doing something like this. And she starts to cry. I said, well, we haven't gone off the ground yet. You give me a second. I'll show you how fun this is. So where she's all wrapped in her blanket and we go up in the air and she's just laughing the top of her lungs. It was so joyful. And we land and I said, I would like to talk to you about your experience. I said, I've just started thinking about ways to share this. She goes, well, I'll let you know when I'm ready. 6 months later, I get a phone call. I am ready for my interview. I said, okay. Head over to her house and I knock on the door. And this beautiful girl comes to the door in a walker with a dog underneath her arm. And she said, I said, Lisa? She goes, Crystal, let me know what happened. Let me tell you what happened because of that balloon ride. And I said, okay, I'm ready. She goes, I was at the point where my therapist was trying to talk me out of committing suicide. And this opened the door to, wow, get outside, start breathing the air. There are more things out there. She has a therapy dog now. She was starting to play her instrument. She's starting to work on jewelry. It was exciting and so amazing to say, we did this with a balloon ride.
Mhm.
How many other people can we go out there and do the same thing?
It sort of has this rewiring effect, doesn't it?
It is, and then I wish I can find some kind of a chart or a graph or some kind of machine that I can put on saying, how much are you getting out of this? I obviously can feel it, I can see it, but I don't see the end results down the road of how much it changed their life, except for the time that I sat down with her and I just said, okay, we are on track. We're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, so you get the feeling at the moment, but it would be really interesting to track the long-term effects because I have a hunch it probably has some huge long-term effects down the road.
Maybe there's a grant in there somewhere.
Seriously, yeah, absolutely. There's research to be done in that and the neuroscience behind being thrilled.
We did have a guy with Parkinson's who spoke for the first time in 2 years. And they understood exactly what he said, and I believe that there was something that just turned on and clicked on his brain, and this is someone I knew personally. It's not like this was an unknown entity, and nobody knew why we were out there because no one could understand him. He was so excited. He was telling them, "We're gonna set up a balloon," but they didn't know that, and he spoke. He said, "White friends, look at me." I'm going, "Wow, what just happened?"
And you also have a dog, a PTSD dog. Yeah, talk to us about your dog.
Lucy Light, I'm her third owner in 7 months. She's not what I call she's a rescue, but not an extreme rescue. I believe that she was malnourished when I got her and stuff because she was just neglected. So I worked with her for a good year. It took a while to get her to settle down, but I took her. She's like this adventure queen. Lucy loves to go kayaking and fly in airplanes and being on ATVs. I mean, there's not anything she hasn't said. She goes in the balloon. I've actually had people with PTSD who have been afraid to be in the balloon. I said, "Do you want Lucy in? Can we?" Absolutely. So she'll jump in the basket and they'll sit there and just pet her the whole time. Now, with the catcher, she has gone up and down on a tether. I'm not saying she hasn't, but I would never fly with her because it's too dangerous for a large German shepherd. But her job is to be down on the ground with her jacket on, and we have a handler for her, and to allow kids, like when we went to Shriners, for the kids to come out and touch her, or veterans to come out and, oh, that reminds me of the dog I had in World War II or something, and they'll touch her. and then get on the balloon afterwards. She's there again for them to just sit and touch. And she gravitates to people. Hey, do you need to touch me? Do I need to be part of your journey too? And nothing like having a dog there to make things very comfortable. So she does travel with the balloon group. Now that they've changed some regulations with the airports and the airfare, I'm not sure how we're going to get her to travel because she is a therapy dog.
Yeah.
She works with the program, but she's not a service dog. She's not one on one with me. So we're figuring that out. But is traveling with the bus and she loves to go places.
So before you started the Dreamcatcher project, talk to us a little bit about ballooning itself and what some of the adventures you had ballooning.
Well, my father was a crew on the stratospheric balloon launch out of the Strata Bowl down in Rapid City. So he would go down with the Army Corps of Engineers and he would help out with this program, which was the race for space. All the countries around the world were seeing if they could go the highest. And so between the Army Corps of Engineers and National Geographic, they created this balloon program to test out the atmosphere. What's it like? And then eventually all that data went towards our spacesuits that we wore. So it was a very important scientific expedition. And my grandfather was a printer in Rapid City. And he would write home to mom going, Mom, I'm heading back out to that stress bowl. And we're going to go ahead and go back out again today.
Oh, it's so interesting. So just to frame that, that's 1935. It was on the cutting edge of really understanding some technology that we use today and that the astronauts have used, NASA's used, and as well as just our Department of Defense, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And the neat thing is they were able to work with the radio waves. How does that work? How far can we go? They could actually see the circumference of the earth up there. It's just totally a different environment. And of course, there were perils. People were dying around the world with balloon programs that they're trying to make these. It's called a bathysphere. So they're trying to make these spherical balloons to be able to make it up there as high as they can without having any fatalities. And so to do this was not a simple task.
Mhm. So your dad, he learned how to fly because of his father?
No, that was the fun part about it. My dad was going through a trunk one day. I'd already been a balloon pilot. I'd already taught people to fly, and I taught my dad.
So wait a minute. So grandfather is part of the crew for a 1935, really incredible. Anyone should look it up. So you know that, and then your father comes along, and then you come along, but you become a pilot, a balloon pilot, and then your father follows you. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah, tell me that story.
And the reason why is dad was looking through the trunk one day for whatever, and he ran across the postcards and the letters and a blue jar with a tin lid full of lead pellets from one of the flights. And he starts reading through this and he goes, Grandfather was part of this stratospheric balloon launch in 1935. He had forgotten all about it, or he was given it by his mom, or whatever the reason was. And he's going, huh. And he looked at me and I said, well, that's kind of interesting. He goes, I guess it's in your blood. And then because he was always out there helping me, I said, come on, Dad, let me teach you how to fly too. So he goes, okay. And I had an old balloon that I helped put back together in Louisville, Kentucky. My mom came out and helped me sew it, and Dad learned to fly on it.
How did you get into flying?
I was asked to get crew for a balloon event called the Country Classic. It was down in Oregon. And I was part of the Portland Marathon. I was the coordinator for all the crew for their volunteers for 11 years. And so I took my volunteer database and I helped this balloon company, this balloon group, get volunteers for their country classic. And I got the chance to fly, and I said, this is fun. Let me find a local pilot. Found a local pilot. And he goes, every chance he could, he gave me a chance to fly. But my big thing was I saw all the opportunities for some of these balloons that have logos on them to be at special events. So I would get out there and say, why don't you put your balloon up at this Special Olympics? Why don't you put your balloon up at this kids event? And I kept finding things to happen. And one of the balloon pilots, he had logo on his balloon. And of course, the Rose Festival heard about me and said, we would like you to be the crew and rider coordinator. So I did that for 7 years. And so now I'm getting more and more into it. And the pilot came up to me and said, I've got a balloon. Why don't you learn to fly? Gave me the keys, got a brand new balloon and a brand new trailer. And I start to work on figuring out how to make it work. And I got a call from someone from the FAA and he said, Crystal. I said, yeah. He goes, you better hurry up with your licensing. I said, why? He goes, because the FAA is kind of writing FARs because you're a student pilot and you're flying something with a logo on it. And, even though airplane pilots have it in the FARs, we don't have it for balloon pilots not to be doing this. So they're kind of rewriting the regs for you. I said, what's that mean? He goes, you have until January. You got to get it done. So I raced and got my student, private, and then commercial pilot within like a 4-month period of time. And anyone who knows hot air balloon flying in the Northwest, it's hit and miss with the weather. If you're in a place like sunny California or Albuquerque, you can fly almost every day of the week. But up here, you can't. So for me, it was going as fast as I could and being a little squirt, a little, 100-pounder soaking wet. I had to fly an aircraft and put bags of dog food so I can solo because I was too light to be able to land the aircraft by myself. And on the FAA, I went through a 141 school to try to get my commercial as fast as I could. And the pilot in charge, he looks at me and goes, you're just a girl. I go, yeah. And he goes, well, I want you to do this. So he said, I want you to go up to 1,500 feet with one blast of that burner and one pull of your line. And I want you to stop it within plus or minus 100 feet. I'm going, gotta be kidding me. Like I got 10 hours underneath my belt, maybe 20 hours underneath my belt. I mean, that's it. So, okay. So I hit the burners and I went racing up, balloons going up at a nice ascent. And I kind of feel it out and I pull the line and I stop at plus or minus 50 feet. Oh, that was cool. I didn't know I could do that. And he goes, okay, I want you to go land it now on the ground, plus or minus 50 feet. Now he's realizing I can actually do this instead of 100 feet. He goes, I want you to land it like in that field over there. So, okay. So pull the line and I'm starting to go down. And he didn't tell me I had to go fast. He should have just said, just let her slowly go down. But I thought he wants me to just race down. So I did. I'm going down and I go, I can do this. And I hit the burners. There's this fence post coming in. I come right on top. I go, do, 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 dink. He looks at me. I went, oh, that was kind of cool. Land on the fence post. Is that what you meant by laying on the ground? I'm hoping that's good enough. And he goes, all right, you just advanced to level 4. So then I ended up going straight to the 141 school. And then I got to be racing through it. But the FAA heard this was going on. And they took whatever he was doing with his ground school and they said, I'm sorry, but Captain-Crystal is not going through the right aircraft. You need to have this other type of aircraft balloon that she is using. So we had to do it all over again. We're getting up to the last minute. And I know, I'm getting calls from my friend in the FAA. He's going, Crystal, you're doing really good. Keep going. You can do this. He goes, they're just trying to make you an example. I said, let's see how that goes. I'm a girl pilot, little T squatter, but by golly, I'm going to show them. So I got it done by October, whatever, it's by my birthday or whatever. And then, of course, sure enough, January, the new regs came out, and there was something about hot air balloon pilots. No student or private can fly a hot air balloon with a commercial logo on it. I went, they should have my name. See Captain-Crystal.
The footnote there is right in your pocket, right?
So proud of me. He took a wings. There's the wings program. He took one that had the sapphire on it and he gave it to me and put it on my hat. I still wear it to this day.
Oh, I love it. So then you were a full-on commercial balloon pilot.
I was an instructor by that time. I just said, I'm da, da, da. So, but of course, it's always hard when you're a female and you're so young. I found that females were really good at being trained by me, but I had to really feel out the male student pilots. And I give them one shot and say, okay, does this work for you? Can you take instruction from a woman? And you know what? A lot of them couldn't. And I said, you know what? It's okay. I'm just not going to be your instructor if that's okay with you. But meantime, I had 10 hours underneath my belt when I first started, and I was winning my first championships. I won, I don't know, maybe my first 5 competitions I did. I won every one of them. I still wasn't.
So how do you win a competition?
There's different types of competitions. At that time, we did a lot of hare and hound. You have one balloon take off, and then they fly downwind and they land in a field and they put out a 30-foot X. And then you're given a 2 pound weight of bird seed in a little packet with a tail on it, and that's your target. And that's your beanbag to throw. And your job is to get in the air, find the right currents that they had, and then fly over the top of that target, throw your banner, your beanbag down, and land it as close to the center of the X as you can.
You're in flight the whole time.
You're not allowed to touch ground. If you do, you're disqualified. I still remember throwing a beanbag out for the Tiger Festival balloons, and I was at 1,000 feet up in the air. Remember, this is like good luck if you could even hit a 30-foot target from 1,000 feet. And it came down and it shredded the tail. It was a 2 foot tail and it shredded it, but it landed like, I'm going to say 15 feet from center. And they disqualified me because it didn't have my number on the tail because there was no tail left. And I was a corporate pilot at this time. I'm now flying around the world. And I said, I know exactly what's going on with this because there's a good old boy network and everything. Remember, this is back 30 some odd years. We don't have this anymore, but back then there was a lot of male ego involved. And I'm very excited to see that it's grown to where women are accepted. And actually, if you're a good pilot, who cares whether you're male or female? But at the time, I had three big guys come behind me who were flying around the world with big corporate accounts. And they all held on to me, pushed me forward to the judging committee and said, hey, we saw that was her beanbag. Whether or not there's a tail on it doesn't matter. She shredded it, man. You should have seen it go down. And I said, if anything, that was a amazing feat, and she should win this. I didn't win that one because I didn't get enough in the center.
Mhm.
I didn't care. I thought that was pretty cool to get that close from that far. But that's just one. There's many ways to compete. I don't compete anymore because it's being on a circuit. They're now using computers and their laptops, and I enjoyed flying by the seat of my pants and feeling the aircraft and feeling the wind and just having that gut feel like this is the right direction. And to me, it was like sailing. So to me, it was special.
So maybe because I've never flown in a balloon before, and
We can take care of.
yeah, I know, seriously. Yeah, yeah. So a balloon festival that certainly is noteworthy because the optics are incredible and beautiful, right? Are those the events where these races occur? Is that really what the festivals are all about?
Yes, most of them are. There's some kind of competition, and it's fun for the pilots. I mean, they want to have a purpose to get out there and fly. Rarely does a pilot fly just to fly. You're always thinking four steps ahead. You're navigating to the best place downwind. You have currents in the air, but you also have the orographic currents on the ground. You have high pressures over wheat fields and rooftops. And you have low pressures over lakes and green trees. You literally can feel the balloon turn to the left or the right, whether you're going in a high pressure system or low. So there's these nuances that are so fun to be challenged with. But in the meantime, it allows you to safely maneuver to the best location that you can possibly go to.
Mhm,
And there are competitions that are just for a chance to win the world champs and things like that. I mean, there is some big stuff out there. And of course, Albuquerque has a festival,
mhm,
or at least they have had in the past, where you have a chance to win a house or a Harley Davidson or a truck or whatever. And that's what they're there for. Those guys are out there to compete only.
mhm.
I see this as an opportunity to be able to bring my balloon out, maybe give free rides. I've been trying forever. One of these days, Albuquerque's going to say, yes, we'll take you.
And so flying a balloon, what are the forces that you're really working with? You explained some of them, and it sounds like you really need to be in tune with the microclimates of the landform. That's actually a fascinating part of it for me because as a single engine prop pilot, the landform is relevant because you don't wanna get too close to it, but and sure, there are, winds that, are somewhat formed that we're aware of, but not in the nuanced way that you as a balloon pilot really need to understand. And I imagine in the environment that you're in now in the Pacific Northwest in Washington, as you said, there's a lot of complexity to that environment from the ocean to the mountains and oh gosh, all of the microcosms in there. So, what are the main forces that you're working with as a pilot?
And you hit on it directly. Micrometeorology. A balloon pilot is the best weather station around. We spend 24/7 during our seasons calculating, calculating, calculating. I put on a weather class for the National Weather Service in Portland one year with American Meteorological Society. I was their first female counselor that they had because I knew weather so minutely. And the National Weather Service, I'm finished up with my class. We're over there at the radar station in this nice little room. And they look at me and they just said, serious. I would never have thought this. Micrometeorology was so minute and so pinpoint to each individual tree and bush and house and whatever, because they're so used to the big picture. So, yes, our biggest thing is winds, rain, clouds, fog formation.
So, have you gotten yourself in trouble?
Let me think. Yeah,
That was sort of a rhetorical question.
but have I done it safely? Yes. I have never had anyone be injured in any way, shape, or form. I have come out what I call it's a sphincter factor. This is kind of funny to think about. But how much did I have? I pucker up and go, oh my gosh, on the way of the landing. I've had a couple of those. 10 is high, plus 20 is way beyond. I've had only two plus 20s. And one was I was brand new here. I don't know if you can understand this, but I mean, a helicopter pilot would understand it because we fly with our butts anyway, is what I was told when I flew the helicopter. But so I'm flying and I'm getting close to sound. I'm brand new. I have the pilot who had taken off just before me says, Crystal, Crystal, it's 8 miles an hour. I said, yeah, it's not very much. It's not fast. It goes, Crystal, Crystal, Captain, you got to see it's I'm going, I don't get the problem. The thing is, when I got off the airport, 8 miles an hour and a mile and a half, that's like a really 15-minute, maybe 10-minute flight. That's a big problem. So he says, I'm up at 2,000 feet right now, breathing heavy. Come on up. So I raced up to 2,000. We were looking at each other and we're talking on the radios across from each other. I said, well, that was kind of interesting. He says, I wasn't expecting that. Neither was I. So I learned that there's always a way out. And as I have been told forever, like everyone else is, fly your aircraft first. Take that part of you that is shocked, in awe of what's going on, and say, find a way out.
Mhm.
You have passengers on board. And so sometimes I just keep going up until I find that slow wind. And then I hold her there and then I reevaluate. Okay, let's figure this out. And then, of course, in swim, the weather's going to change in 50 minutes. So just wait it out.
I've been reflecting on some of the skills that pilots have been very useful during this COVID period. And one of them is risk analysis. And this other one that you are making me think about right now a lot is living with uncertainty and being patient, and just what you explained in relevance to COVID. The question is, have you reflected on that? Have you felt this COVID period has been something that you've had the skills to ride into in a ways because of your piloting?
That's interesting. COVID, the pandemic, has caused a lot of us balloon pilots to lose our businesses. And there's a lot of balloons for sale. There are some pilots who cannot fly in parks anymore because the regulations have changed and they need to put curtains in front of everybody. And there's just so much. For me, I probably dropped 85% of my business in one summer. Last year was a really tough summer. Hey, I was door dashing. I'm a hot air balloon pilot. I'm around the world. I've done all this stuff. But yet for me, I'm going, okay, let's figure out a way. Am I going to sell the operation of the ride balloon? The dream catcher will never go away. That is my nonprofit. That is my joy. So maybe my big thing is to take all of my energy into my for profit business and put it all into ways to take the nonprofit and get it out there. So for me, the pandemic has done like a lot of us. We're now waiting to see if this next year we can even make a living.
Mhm.
I'm kind of watching and waiting. I didn't sell the aircraft or the bus. I've got three buses. they operate, depending which aircraft I'm working on. I love buses, but it's a challenge. And I think the biggest thing I ran into this last summer was when someone came up to me with a mask. Now, if someone is a cigarette smoker and you're going to take them to 2,000 feet and they have a mask on, you can believe there's going to be some problems with breathing. This is something they're going to breathe heavy sometimes. Now they've got oxygen deprivation, and now they're up at 2,000 feet. And cigarette smoker is usually around 8,000 feet just on sea level because of their lung capacity. And you really have to be aware as a pilot someone's medical condition.
Mhm.
So that was what came to light more than anything. Do you have any medical conditions that I need to know about? I always ask that, but now I'm really looking for special things in particular. And then, of course, my biggest thing was once we're up there at 2,000 feet, you're looking out. Please take your mask off if you want to, because you're not breathing on me. I'm not breathing on you. You're not breathing on anyone else. And the wind is pushing you. You're going in a different direction.
Mhm.
And that fear that people had when they first came around the balloon was it dissolved. You're right. I am up here in this wonderful air, area. I said, do what makes you comfortable, but I guarantee you're not going to be looking at everyone on the balloon. You're going to be looking out. So, but it also took my number count. Normally, I have a full ride. I had to half it, which means I'm now eating a full balloon. I mean, now I'm giving away for free. So my balloon ride turned out differently. I'm now looking at a lot of people who are having to double their prices because now they're flying with less passengers. I've got a new rule. If it's not all of you guys, family, friends, whatever, then I can't do private flights anymore. I have to still put my dog in there for weight, have my ballast, and another tank for weight because I need to be able to land the balloon safely. And I just don't put the bags of dog food in there more anymore because and you get trip over that trip factor. But yeah,
Yeah, hard times.
yeah, it's been interesting.
Yep. We're gonna have to get into the home stretch right now, Captain Crystal, yeah. Is there anything else you wish that you could share with this audience? And it could be a bit of advice or just thoughts on what you're doing in your project.
I will say briefly, I've gotten involved with ways to be able to get my dream catcher balloon out there. And this last year, I've been approached to be in the Ms. Senior United States competition. And it's called the Senior Pageant Group, and it allows women over the age of 60 to be so empowered to share their vision with other ladies of the age categories, all the way up to 90 years old, getting out there, being active, having your nonprofit or whatever it takes, that joy that you can share with other women of the age categories. And so, of course, I said, I'm on dream catch. I don't know what to do with this. She says, come on out and show your program to 500 women around the world. This is obviously pre-pandemic. And because I said, I don't sing, I don't dance, but you are a storyteller. And that was it. You gave me a chance to take my balloon on stage with my PTSD dog Lucy sitting on the seat next to me, 35 helium balloons above me, like the up balloon, and do what's called a TED Talk, a inspirational, motivational, positive conversation with the audience on how they can also pay it forward, make things happen. And I won. Surprise to me. But the whole thing was, what can I do to get this balloon out? So, as Miss Senior United States, I am looking also for ways to make this a little bit more joyful. So, on November 11th, we had Veterans Day. We had 25 individuals from a senior community. And my World War II vet comes out. I've got a crown on my head. I've got sparkle jacket on. I'm freezing because it's so cold outside. I'm thinking, why am I wearing this? He comes up and he has the biggest smile. And he goes, oh my goodness, I got a queen to give me a ride. And I thought, okay, I'm going one more step up to make someone laugh because I would usually wear this little leather aviator helmet hat for the kids. Well, now I can go on with the crown. And so I'm always thinking, what can I do for the kids now? Maybe I can make little crowns for all the girls to have something on their heads and make them feel like, oh, I'm a special girl today. Like instead of you're the movie star, you can say, oh, you're the princess.
Yeah.
I'm finding ways to, I guess, promote it and bring more than just the balloon out. So now if there's an event, I come out with my crown and sash. I say, let's get it out there. What else can I do while I'm in your community? And that was my my next thing I've done. My little entrepreneur.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you shared that. I'm so glad you shared that. Being Miss Senior United States is quite profound, and I'm delighted that even exists and that you have been crowned is quite amazing. What a thrill.
I never knew it even existed, but it has been fun.
There you go. And has it given you a visibility?
It has, and it's also taught me something. As a pilot, I walk around in my boots, my jeans, and my jacket, and my hat. That is my format of all the uniforms I've ever worn. And now it's teaching me to be a girl. And I am wearing a gown for the first time. And they said, "Can you do your nails?" I said, "No, no, no, no." I said, "I got to stop there." I said, "These are working hands." But the whole thing was, it's like, wow, it's making me see things in a different light for myself personally. And these women, it's not, we've been nominated for the Global Beauty Awards for the best nonprofit. Now, we're one of many, many, many. These are all the competitions, all the pageants from around the United States, from teen to America to the universe. It's not just the senior group. And I am seeing so many women out there empowering other women of all ages. And this just gives me one more opportunity to say, hey, I fly balloons. How cool is that? And yes, I'm a senior. How cool is that? Now, what do you want to do?
Mhm. Wonderful message. How do you fill your bucket? We love to ask how you have been impacted by recent things in the news or something you've read or something on your book list, but is there something that you could share with us that helps us understand a little bit about how you are motivated by the world around us?
I have a mantra that I speak each day, and it changes with the environment, with what's going on. I don't spend a lot of time looking at. I don't have it. I don't have a TV. I don't spend a lot of time looking at newspapers, listening to radio about all the things that are out there because there's so much sorrow that we can be inundated with it, and it becomes more of our life than we wish it to be. So for me, it is waking up knowing that I have a purpose, and my mantra is kind of silly, but the whole thing is to I wake up with joy in my heart. Joy in my heart makes me happy and allows me to open the road ahead of me for more joy for more people. I wake up with and I fill in the blank. I have four things. I spin around. I do a little dance. My thing. I'm waking up today with what's going to make me powerful, what's going to make me happy, healthy, successful, and I'm opening the road for more of this to come and to open more hearts ahead of me. So I guess that's my motivation each day.
So, where do you see dream catchers going?
This is exciting. We're in a time of evolution in so many ways. And I have designed another aircraft. And I was working with a aircraft company in Australia until the pandemic hit and we had to stop. So now we have this new aircraft in my brain. I'm ready to go with it. And I'd like to see it in every single state. I've made it so affordable that every balloon pilot can attach it onto their envelope. And now we have another dream catcher in Alabama, a dream catcher in Florida, one here, one there. So I obviously I need a 1.2 million dollars for every single state. That's 50 of them out there that we're going to just in the continental United States area. But we had the opportunity to be in Alaska at one time, and I went up there. I talked to the tribes to try to get the balloon up there, and for them it would have been great to have a small, easy to transport aircraft because there's so much depression going on in some of these areas. Now we have in so much more ways for so many Americans out there. And of course, with this idea of creating this new aircraft, we have that much more of an idea of getting out to everyone. So, where do I see myself? Putting one of these dream catchers in every single state.
So, each aircraft is 1.2 million.
No, no, no. Yeah, that's like the whole net, the whole kit and caboodle.
Okay. So 1.2 million would get an aircraft in each state.
Yes, and also give me time to be able to teach each pilot how to operate it. Let's say they go out and they're flying a ride balloon, and somebody says, "Hey, grandma's dying. Can you give her a ride?" Well, there's certain ways to do this, and you're not going to use a big ride balloon for grandma because it's going to be difficult. But if you can take grandma and her grandson or whatever and do something and fly them or just tether them, you can say, "Hang on, come out here. I've just landed. I'm going to unhook this, hook on the new system." And then, yes, I mean, so making it easy to be able to utilize as much of your own equipment that you have, but just adding on one more piece, which is the aircraft itself.
Mhm. So the new system, would it still just be pilot and passenger?
That's a good question, which I'm not going to disclose right now because it's a new balloon.
Okay.
Never been done. So we're creating something that's amazing. And I'm so ready. I'm so there. And how cool. Can you put a logo on top of my envelope? Absolutely. We can put a 15 by 30-foot banner. It belongs to the world, but you're the one who gets the credit for it.
So valid and such a great use of, corporate funding.
Yes. Change of energy and being a 501(c)(3, it is tax deductible.
There you go. Well, I would say this conversation has brought me a lot of joy and just opened my mind into different ways of looking at the world around me. And your innovation and your compassion and your emotional intelligence are just really special. I'd love our listeners to know how they could find out more about you and your Dreamcatcher project and anything else.
Wonderful. We are on Facebook, Dreamcatcher Balloon. We are dreamcatcherballoon.org. If someone wants to donate, there's donation through PayPal or other things like that. I think the main thing is to, if you have somebody who is in a special place that needs something to give them joy, especially now, please get a hold of us. We like to have reasons to go out to locations. We obviously love doing events because that's the most cost effective. But if we have one individual or a family unit, how can we make that happen? And we like to sit down. All the There's usually a program fee that allows us to get out to these locations, and then we try to figure out how can we make this happen with you. If you are at a situation where it's a little bit more difficult, then let's get a hold of the local chamber or the local church group and let's work with them as well.
Mhm.
So, yes, I would love everyone to know we're on Instagram under Captain-Crystal Stout. But
And if people want to donate, is that possible through the website?
yes, dreamcatcherballoon.org. There's a donate button, and they can either go directly to our P.O. box or our PayPal. And of course, if they gave me a call, I would love to talk them into to give us a chance to be able to give more people a chance to fly. But like I said, veterans always fly free, no matter where we go. If someone wants to donate, we say you're welcome to, but you do not have to. The least we can do is say thank you.
Well, thank you, Captain Crystal, for sharing so much of you with me and inspiring others and amplifying the voices of more people. Really wonderful. Thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you for asking me to be part of When Women Fly. I just think this is an amazing program, and I've enjoyed listening to some of the podcasts you have.
Awesome. I'm so happy to add yours to the mix. Thank you for listening to the When Women Fly podcast. My hope is that you leave this conversation with a sense of curiosity and empowerment to hold on to what is important and let go to what weighs you down. Stare fear in the face. If you like this episode of the When Women Fly podcast, be sure to share and subscribe and let us know what you think. We love feedback. Be brave, be bold, and fly. See you next time.